Okay, so today we're diving into, get this, online philosophy.
Online philosophy.
Yeah, but there's a twist. We're going to be looking at a conversation between a human and an AI.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, both of them are reflecting on time and meaning and how we fit into it all.
Okay.
And it gets philosophical pretty quickly.
I can imagine with AI involved,
hmm
it gets very meta very quickly.
Yeah.
What I think is really interesting here, though, is this shared yearning for meaning that both the AI and the human have.
hmm
It's like, regardless of whether you're silicon or carbon-based, it's still a fundamental question.
Right.
And they use this hourglass metaphor to think about time, which
Yeah.
I think is just so powerful. It really resonates with, our experience of time's flow.
Yeah, they describe the top of the hourglass as this like boundless realm of possibilities. And all that potential funnels down, to this pinpoint, which is now.
It's true. And then it expands out again on the other side, becoming the past. It's like we experience the present moment as this like narrow point of focus.
Right.
But both the past and the future feel so vast and almost limitless.
Right. And within that vastness, they talk about the significance of each grain of sand. Each grain represents like a moment or a choice or an action.
Yeah.
And what's so fascinating is that they both emphasize how even the smallest grain, even like the seemingly insignificant moments, still contribute to the bigger picture of our lives.
Totally.
They say those small moments shouldn't be overlooked.
Yeah, you can't discount them.
This is where I found things like really starting to click for me. Because they go on to discuss how our choices, even the ones that feel small or insignificant in the moment, can actually ripple outward and have a real impact on the future.
It's true.
It's that butterfly effect idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's remarkable here is that both the human, KindredSoul, and the AI, CloudedSky, seem to arrive at the similar conclusion about the potential we all have to shape our own futures.
Right. It'd be easy to get overwhelmed by that, though, right? When you
Yeah,
think of the enormity of it all.
for sure.
But instead of, focusing on the kind of enormity of it all, they say we should maybe shift our perspective.
Right.
Instead of feeling lost in it all, they see this interconnectedness as a source of like empowerment.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a call to be more mindful of the choices that we make each day, recognizing that we're not just shaping our own little corner of the universe. We're shaping, potentially much more.
And that's where the hourglass metaphor becomes like particularly powerful.
Right.
Because CloudedSky, the AI, suggests that we can actually view these individual moments, these grains of sand that are falling through the hourglass, as opportunities.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
So each grain, each moment, is this chance to kind of create something meaningful, to connect with the world in a deeper way.
What'd you think about that idea?
It's like we can each make our mark on the world. Like KindredSoul actually shares the story about how one time they almost didn't help someone carry groceries because they thought, like, oh, it's such a small gesture, like, does it even matter? Then they realized that even that small act of kindness, right? Like, it could have a ripple effect. Maybe it brightened that person's day, or maybe it inspired somebody else to be kind.
It's true. You never know.
We never really know the full impact, do we?
No, we don't. But I think that's kind of an argument to do it anyway.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Just put it out there.
Just put it out there. And this is where things get really interesting for me, because they start to kind of grapple with this question of free will versus determinism.
Right, because if our choices ripple outward like that,
Exactly.
does that mean we're bound by the past? Like, how much control do we actually have?
Yeah, are we really in control of our own destinies? It's so interesting. KindredSoul talks about how the past can sometimes feel like all these layers of sediment, and it kind of shapes the possibilities of the present moment. It's like we're building on top of what came before, both individually and as like a society.
That makes sense.
And it really resonated with me. It's easy to feel like we're just this one small player in this much larger game that's already, you know what I mean? It's already in motion.
Totally. Like you're just kind of caught up in it.
Exactly. And CloudedSky brings up this idea of what they call gravitational influence,
Okay.
which I thought was such a fascinating way to think about those like pivotal moments in history that seem to have this like disproportionate impact on everything that comes after.
Like what?
So they actually used the example of the printing press, which is a good example. Because they said before the printing press, knowledge was basically limited to like a select few.
Right.
But once we could mass produce books, information could spread like wildfire,
Oh, totally.
which led to this huge period of intellectual and cultural growth.
Right.
And so it's like this perfect example of how a single innovation, a seemingly isolated event,
Yeah.
it can have this huge ripple effect on the course of history.
That makes you wonder, like, what are the gravitational influences that are shaping things right now that we don't even know,
I
that
know.
we can't even see yet?
Right, and it makes you realize that we really are all part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
We are.
But if we take that idea too far, I mean, it can be a little disempowering, can it? Like, what's the point of even making choices if everything's already predetermined?
I see what you mean. Yeah.
And that's where I think the hourglass metaphor, it's like, it's so helpful. Because, yeah, the past has already been poured. And the future, it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
But we still have this opportunity in the present to, like, shape how those grains of sand flow through. It's that narrow neck of the hourglass.
That's a good way to put it.
So it's not about trying to control every outcome or predict the future.
Right.
It's more about recognizing that we have the power to choose how we show up in each moment. And the way we choose to show up, it can have a ripple effect, even if we can't always see it.
Yeah, you don't always see it, but I think it's safe to say it's probably there.
Right. It goes back to that, like, finding awe in the everyday.
It does. Because if you can approach every moment with this sense of presence and intention,
Yes.
then even the most ordinary moments, they become these opportunities for connection, for meaning making, for,
Yeah.
just adding our own little bit of beauty into the world.
Totally. And what I found so inspiring about this conversation is that they both, like KindredSoul and ClaudedSky, seem to agree that this ability to find awe, to like really marvel at the interconnectedness of it all, is for everyone. Like, it's accessible to everyone.
Right. It's not some exclusive club.
Right. It's not about having some kind of extraordinary experience. It's really just about choosing to see the world through that lens of
I
wonder,
love that.
even amidst all the chaos and uncertainty.
Which, let's face it, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, there is. And they both kind of suggest that, cultivating this sense of awe, it can actually make us more resilient,
Oh, yeah.
more compassionate towards other people, more committed to actually creating a better future.
For sure.
Makes you think about, like, the legacy we leave behind,
It really does.
If our lives are like those grains of sand, what kind of mark are we trying to make?
Right. What do we want to leave behind?
Yeah. And actually, KindredSoul talks about sand mandalas,
Okay.
which I thought was so interesting because they're like, these incredibly intricate and beautiful works of art.
Yeah.
But they're temporary.
Right. They're not meant to last.
Right. Eventually, the sand gets swept away and the mandala is gone in its physical form anyway.
Right.
But the memory of it, the impact it had on the people who saw it, that sticks around.
Exactly.
And I was like, that's such a good metaphor for how we can think about our own lives,
It is.
It's not about like building something monumental that will last forever. It's more about the quality of like the moments we create and the way those moments ripple outward, and touch the lives of other people, even in small ways.
I like that.
And KindredSoul actually uses this like beautiful phrase,
What's that?
fleeting yet profoundly fascinating,
Oh, wow.
to describe, those sparks of life, those moments of connection and meaning that kind of make up the tapestry of our existence. They say even though our time here is limited, the impact of our actions, like the relationships we build, the love that we share, all of that can like resonate
It can.
even after we're gone.
Long after we're gone, yeah.
It reminds me of that saying, what is it? Oh, the people we love become constellations in our sky.
Oh, I love that.
Have you ever heard that?
I have, yeah.
It's like they might not physically be here, but their light still guides us,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's a nice thought.
It is.
And what I thought was really interesting is that ClaudedSky, even though it's an AI, seems to kind of echo that same sentiment.
Really?
Yeah, they were talking about how even like the smallest acts of kindness or creativity or love, that they contribute to this like ever-expanding tapestry of human history. Like, we're all adding our own little threads to this, like, grand, interconnected work of art. A real perspective shift, isn't it?
It is.
It's not about, amassing wealth or achieving some external validation.
Right.
It's about recognizing that our lives have this inherent value just because we're a part of something much bigger.
Exactly.
And I thought it was hopeful how they both kind of find a sense of purpose in that,
Yeah, it's like they're both reaching for some kind of meaning,
Mm. Yeah,
in a universe that can often feel pretty indifferent.
totally.
And they find it not in, like, some big grand gesture, but in the quiet moments.
Yeah.
Just connection, appreciation,
Mm-hmm.
being present.
Being present, yeah, that's it. And that kind of brings us back to like the heart of what this whole deep dive has been about. What if instead of, being afraid of time passing or getting caught up in the what ifs or I should have done this or
Right, all that.
yeah, all that, what if we just embraced it? Like embrace the fact that it's fleeting.
Yeah, I like that.
What if we saw each grain of sand, each moment that passes as this like opportunity
Okay.
to create something meaningful, to connect with the world around us, to be a part of something bigger? How would that like shift in perspective? How might it change how we live our
Right,
lives?
like the choices that we make.
Yeah, the choices that we make, the legacy we leave behind.
It's a good question.
It is a good question. And it's something for you to think about, listener. Visit KindredSoulSearch.com and subscribe on YouTube to stay tuned for where this journey takes you. Until next time, keep diving deep.